Alright, morning people. So I've moved on to do some electrics because I'm getting a bit bored of doing all of the carpentry, cladding. I need to do the upper cabinets, which is stressing me out a bit because nothing's level. So I thought I'd move on to some electrics. We've got the solar panels installed, so it'd be nice to use some of the power from that to keep the battery charged and run our lights and USB sockets and things like that.
Okay, getting prepared to drill the socket holes. Woo! Can you see daylight? This whole new skill that you've learned.
It's quite satisfying. So here I'm just quickly splicing the wires to add another connection because the sockets that we're installing have two outputs, a USB and then a traditional 12-volt socket, which you'd find in the sort of cigarette lighter in the car. So using the quick splicers to tap the power off that main cable routed from the other side of the van from the battery. And in our design we made sure that the wires were the correct diameter to be able to deal with the loads. So I'll put a link down below for the website that we used to correctly size the wires, because it's really important that for safety, so the wires don't get too hot and melt, and also that you don't get a big voltage drop. So most of the electronic knowledge I gained from Fire Out Ride, which is an unbelievable website, and it helped us go through our electric system, size it to exactly what we needed for our needs. And then they do loads of good reviews over particular electronic products, so I would definitely go there if you're designing your own van. Yeah, I'll put a link below. Sweet!
Hey!
Boy.
There we go, look at that bad boy! She's charging!
So, we've got to fit all of this stuff on this board somehow. This is what I've done so far. I didn't really film it because it'd probably be a bit dull, but basically all of our 12-volt sources are coming to that fuse box. We've got solar charge panel, and I'm just going to rattle on through, and then I'll try and explain it all at some point. It's been a bit of a disaster trying to figure out the layout, because there isn't as much space on this wall as I'd hoped. I wanted to put the water tank and the water pump system and the electrics here. It's just not going to work. So I'll put the water tank, run a cold water pipe up here to this side, and then put the water pumps all on this wall. There's a bit more space. And then where I wanted to put the gas tank, it's not going to work due to stuff underneath the van, so we're having to move that to the front. So it's all changing all the time, but it's all good. Right, I better crack on. That is one crimped connection. See this chunky guy, not much wire in between these two, but it's good to get the exact measurement to get them all fitting together, and it is starting to look reasonably neat. I'm pretty happy so far. We'll have to hook it all up and see if anything flipping works. Alright, so I've got a bit of a top tip just to help with neat wiring.
if you're going from, say, a wall to a horizontal surface, when you put your crimps on, it's really important to rotate them by 90 degrees. So if you look at this wire, if that's flat, the far end is at 90 degrees, and it just helps the wires to sit really well. So when I install it, I'll give you another shot and then you can see what I mean.
Oh, what Chris has been doing today. Look at all this. Gizmos and gadgets. And he's clearly not done contemplating gizmos and gadgets. All this thinking and contemplating requires a lot of mental energy, and may I recommend, for fueling such energy, Pix peanut butter. Probably the best peanut butter in the world.
Alrighty, put on my green outfit just for the camera.
So green.
I'll tell you. Yeah, flipping, don't care, it's hot. So, yesterday smashed through all the electrics. I said that I'd talk you through it all. So we had a few issues with these fuse breakers. They're cheap, but again, you get what you pay for, and that caused some issues with making sure that the solar panels are working. So I'll quickly...
Just a quick interjection here. So we use circuit breakers as opposed to fuses because it allowed us to isolate each part of our circuit by tripping it, and then if a circuit was to blow, then you can reset them nice and easily. Unfortunately, those top row of fuses proved to be a bit cheap, so 2 out of the 6 that I ordered were dodgy. The bottom right hand one though seems solid and allows us to cut off all power at any time, which is really handy.
Talk you through it. So we have our 200 amp hour leisure battery which I'm sat on, and we sized that by using this calculator on fireoutride.com just to work out what you're going to be using. So our leisure battery is going to power all of our 12 volt stuff, and this is the fuse box for that. And then all of these wires one through the walls to all of the electrics. So for instance, we've got the water pump, the fridge, the roof lights which are on at the moment, the fan which is going, and then our USB outlets, heater, all of that nonsense. So then power from the leisure battery comes through our 12 volt ground, and then the negatives come back through here and then back through here back to the battery. Now between the negatives and the battery terminal is this thing which is a battery monitor, and that's important because you're not allowed to discharge your leisure battery too much as it damages it, and you have to charge the battery in different stages to make sure that you get the most life out of it. So this battery monitor sends data to this little monitor here, and then you can also look at your phone to make sure that your battery is charging okay. Now how we charge this laser battery is 2 ways. From the solar panel, which is coming down from the roof, to this solar charge controller, which is an MPPT charger. And then that comes, the output comes through here, back through to the battery to charge the battery. And then the second way is through this, which is a split charge relay. So we've got cable, I haven't connected it yet, but cables running from the starter battery, which is powered by a car's alternator. That runs to here, then through this power cable back to the battery. So that's pretty sweet, and everything seems to be working. And we have power. So I'm currently charging my phone from one of the sockets, the lights are going, the fan's buzzing away. And we'll just see how things work. I haven't quite figured out how to work out exactly how well the solar panels are working, but yeah, we'll see. Okay, quick update on solar panels. So we have 2 160 watt Renogy rigid solar panels on the roof, and then they're coming down to a MPPT charger, which is a Photonic Universe charger, which seems to get good reviews and is doing a good job. But what I don't have for it is the attachment for the monitoring of your solar panels. It's a bit of extra money, and actually if it's working well then I'm not that bothered about the finite details, to be honest with you. Apart from I want to work out whether they're working well initially on installation, because when I look at the solar charge controller I'm getting really good voltage, around 20 volts, which is what you'd expect for two solar channel, the two panels wired in parallel. But I was only getting about 0.3 amps charging the battery. I was like, oh, that seems pretty low. But I wondered whether the reason was because the state of charge of the battery is 100%, and was the solar charge controller limiting the amps going to the battery so it didn't overcharge it. So I did send an email to Photonic Universe, and they confirmed that is exactly what happens. And actually, once I start putting higher loads through the battery and draining it, I'll get a more accurate representation of what the solar panels are doing. The other thing you can do is use a multimeter and check the volts and the amps before the solar charge controller. And I did borrow a friend's, and it did suggest that the amps were higher than what the solar charge controller was reading. So I'm pretty reassured at this stage, and if I have any doubts then I'll just use a digital multimeter to get an exact reading further on. But yeah, I couldn't find any other information out there, so if you install your system and you see that your amp output is really low but your voltage is fine, it's probably the solar charge controller doing its job. No need to sweat.